God bless everyone. Today, I bring you the testimony of Clara, a 72-year-old woman whose life was forever changed by a profound and extraordinary experience. In a moment of near death, Clara found herself transported to a mysterious realm beyond this world, where she encountered figures of immense fame and power, Princess Diana, Queen Elizabeth, and others, each weighed down by unimaginable struggles and deep regrets. Their stories carry haunting lessons that resonate far beyond their earthly lives. Now, I will share her letter exactly as she wrote it, revealing not only Clara's own sins, but the shocking truth about why these souls are there. Stay with me. You won't believe what she saw. I am Clara, 72 years old, and for most of my life, I have embraced simplicity and faith. My days were filled with quiet devotion, a modest home, and routines that offered comfort in their predictability. I prayed often, finding solace in the whispers of Scripture, though I sometimes felt my connection to God waver. Doubts lingered at the edges of my mind. Had I truly lived a life worthy of His grace? Had I done enough to seek salvation? These questions weighed heavily on me, though I kept them hidden, trusting that someday I might find clarity. But little did I know, clarity was coming in a way I could never have imagined. It began on an ordinary day, a moment so routine I almost laugh now at how insignificant it seemed. I was in my bathroom, reaching for my shampoo bottle as I had countless times before. My foot slipped on the damp tile, and everything changed in an instant. As I fell, time seemed to slow, and a sharp pain shot through my body as I hit the cold floor. But that pain was fleeting, giving way to a deep and eerie silence. In that moment, I knew something profound had happened, something far beyond the physical. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, the world was not as it had been. For all my years of strength, for all the faith I had clung to, there had always been a lingering fear. Was I truly ready to meet God? As I lay there, my thoughts spiraled, and an unsettling calmness enveloped me. I felt my spirit stir, as if on the brink of something monumental. And then it began. A journey that would unravel truths I had never dared to face. What lay ahead would challenge everything I thought I understood about my faith, my life, and the world beyond. But the first signs of what awaited me were only beginning to reveal themselves. It happened so suddenly, a single slip, a sharp impact, and everything I knew shifted. The damp tiles of my bathroom betrayed me, and before I could catch myself, I was on the floor. The coldness of the tiles seeped into my body as a searing pain radiated through me. But then, almost as quickly as it came, the pain faded, replaced by an overwhelming silence. My world seemed to dim as though time itself had stopped. My mind struggled to grasp what had happened, but before I could dwell on it, a strange sensation took over. It was as though I was being pulled away, weightless and detached. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't where I thought I would be. Instead, I was above, looking down at my own body lying still on the bathroom floor. In that moment, everything felt eerily serene. I hovered there, gazing at myself with an unnatural clarity. It was strange, calm even, as though a veil had been lifted, revealing a world I had never truly seen before. The details of the room were sharper than I had ever noticed, and yet I felt detached, as though the life I had known was now someone else's. There was a quiet peace that wrapped around me, comforting yet foreign. But just as I began to accept this tranquility, something shifted. It was subtle at first, like a flicker of doubt creeping into my mind. The edges of my vision began to dim, and the serene calmness gave way to a growing unease. Darkness started to seep into the space around me, thick and consuming. The warmth and light that had initially surrounded me were now being replaced by a cold, oppressive void. It wasn't just the absence of light, it was a presence, something alive and malevolent. The peace I had felt moments before now seemed distant, unreachable, as though it had never existed. I could feel a weight pressing down on me, an overwhelming sense that I was being watched, judged. The darkness wasn't just around me, it was within me, unearthing fears and doubts I had buried long ago. I wanted to turn back, to escape, but I couldn't. Something was drawing me deeper, and I knew that what lay ahead would change everything I thought I knew about life, death, and the soul. The shadows came first, their forms vague yet unmistakably alive with malice. They circled me, their whispers growing louder until they became mocking jeers that echoed in my mind. Each voice seemed to hold a mirror to my soul, forcing me to face the moments I wished to forget. My pride, my anger, my failures to forgive. Their words were relentless, cutting through the fragile defenses I had built over a lifetime. I felt stripped bare, exposed in a way I had never known. Every mistake, every weakness I had ignored now stood before me, undeniable and heavy. It was as if they reveled in my torment, pulling me deeper into a place where escape seemed impossible. But even in the depths of their taunts, I felt something else. A pull, a strange compulsion to move forward, toward a black door that loomed in the distance. The door was massive, ominous, and seemed to radiate a darkness that both repelled and compelled me. I couldn't stop myself from approaching it, though every step felt like I was walking into a nightmare. When it opened, the scene before me was unlike anything I could have imagined. I saw figures that the world revered and feared, stripped of their titles and masks, consumed by their own regrets. Princess Diana appeared first, her beauty still present, but overshadowed by a sorrow so deep it seemed to weigh down her very soul. She spoke of a life longing for love, seeking validation in the adoration of the public, yet finding only emptiness. Fame, she said, had blinded her to the salvation she truly needed, and now she stood in the grip of eternal regret. Her pain was palpable, her words heavy with the weight of missed opportunities to embrace faith and humility. Next came Queen Elizabeth, her regal demeanor replaced by a profound sense of loss. She spoke not of her power, but of the moments she could have used it to guide her people towards something greater. Her regret was in the humility she had failed to show, the faith she had set aside for the demands of her throne. As her voice faded, other figures emerged: Jeffrey Epstein, Adolf Hitler, and Osama bin Laden. Each was surrounded by an aura of torment, their eternal suffering a reflection of the darkness they had sown in life. Chains bound them, heavier with every passing moment, as the cries of those they had wronged echoed around them. The horrors they endured were endless, their souls trapped in a cycle of anguish and regret. As I stood there, overwhelmed by the weight of what I was witnessing, I couldn't help but wonder, why had I been brought here? What was I meant to learn from these souls, and what lay ahead on this path of shadows and regret? The darkness that surrounded me was unlike anything I had ever imagined. It wasn't just the absence of light. It was alive, pressing against me with a suffocating weight. The air itself felt heavy, cold, and sharp, as if it was cutting into my very soul. The silence was deafening at first, but then came the sounds, agonized screams that echoed endlessly, blending with the haunting whispers of unseen voices. As I moved, or perhaps was pulled, deeper into this place, I saw them. Chains, massive and rusted, dangled from above, their clinking sounds sending shivers down my spine. They dragged across the ground, their weight crushing those they bound. Every step I took felt like wading through thick, icy mud, the kind that clung to my legs as if to pull me under. It wasn't just mud. It burned, searing through flesh and bone, a constant reminder of the sins it represented. The landscape itself seemed alive with torment. Shadows of the innocent hovered near the damned, their silent, piercing gazes filled with sorrow and anger. These shadows circled the guilty, trapping them in a prison of their own making. Each figure I saw was consumed by their own pain, forced to relive the horrors of their actions. I watched as scenes of past crimes played out in vivid, torturous detail, betrayals, greed, cruelty, all etched into this oppressive environment. The screams of the guilty mingled with the weight of their chains, each link a testament to their choices. The air grew colder, darker, heavier with every step, and I could feel something pulling me forward, deeper into the abyss. What was waiting ahead? What more could this place reveal about the fate of those who had lost their way? The answers, I feared, would challenge everything I thought I understood about justice, redemption, and the human soul. As I stood in the midst of that oppressive darkness, surrounded by the echoes of anguish and regret, a realization began to dawn within me. This journey was not merely a punishment, it was a mirror, reflecting back the truths I had refused to face. Every shadow, every scream, every agonizing chain seemed to whisper lessons I had ignored in life. I understood now that I was being shown the weight of pride, the consequences of arrogance, and the devastating emptiness of living without humility. This place forced me to confront the cracks in my soul, the places where I had allowed doubt and selfishness to fester. It was as if God had drawn back the veil, exposing the frailty of my humanity, not to condemn me, but to teach me. In the depths of that realm, forgiveness took on a new meaning. I had always thought forgiveness was something I extended to others, a gift I could control. But now, I understood it as something far greater, a divine grace I had to open myself to receive. I realized that I had clung to my mistakes, letting them define me rather than seeking the healing that only faith could provide. Humility, true humility, was the key to salvation, not just acknowledging my flaws, but laying them bare before God, trusting in His mercy to lift me from the darkness. My heart, which had been hardened by fear and pride, began to soften. For the first time, I truly understood the depth of His love and the freedom that comes from surrendering to it. When I finally awoke, lying on the cold bathroom floor, I was not the same woman who had slipped moments before. My body ached, but my soul felt renewed, alive in a way I had never experienced. The journey had changed me, opened my eyes to the urgency of redemption and the power of grace. I resolved to confront my mistakes, to seek forgiveness not just from others, but from myself and from God. I knew I had to live differently, with faith that guided my every step and humility that shaped my every decision. But as I stood, still trembling from the weight of what I had seen, one question lingered. Why had I been shown such a vision, and what more was I meant to understand? That answer, I knew, was still waiting to be revealed. I've shared my story and the profound lessons I've learned through this experience, but I know it's a journey that raises questions and sparks reflection. I invite you to share your thoughts, opinions, or even your own experiences in the comments section below. What do you think about the lessons of humility, forgiveness, and redemption? I'd love to hear your perspective. Let's continue this conversation together.